Hey everyone, I'm trying to pick back up where we left off, but I want to just back up just a little and point out, up here in Psalms 18, verses 4 and 5, we see where the Lord brought my attention to the fourth seal, which is the pale horse, which is death and hell followeth after. And that's how the Lord got my attention, of course. Then with the sorrows, is how the Lord led me to Matthew 24. In Matthew 24, what Christ was speaking to his disciples as what to watch for lines up with the seals. And we were exploring how Psalm 18, how it's got parallels from Revelation 6, and how it seems to connect with the seals. So we're going to just recap just a bit. Here's where the fourth seal come in, which is the pale horse. Death and hell followed afterwards. And we see the ungodly men, the floods of ungodly men, made me afraid. And I looked up ungodly just so I would have clarity on it. See if I can find it right here. And it says, reference Belial. And it says scriptural meaning is worthlessness, reckless, and lawlessness. Of course, this right here is very familiar to us, and we know it relates back to the Antichrist and the Antichrist spirit. Okay. That we saw come into play. The Antichrist spirit we saw come into play with seal 1, which is the white horse. Okay. What I want to get to here, let's see, we were talking about. Okay, and we also saw, one thing I want to point out here. It says, in my distress I called upon the Lord and cried unto my God. He heard my voice out of his temple, and my cry came before him, even into his ears. Here we see that during this time, that when we call upon the Lord, he's going to hear us, and he will cover us. He will protect us. We'll get to that here in a few minutes, okay? Or later on. Okay, then we see how the earth shook and trembled, and the foundations of the hills moved and were shaken because of his wrath, which is anger, or wrath, which is anger, which basically does bring the wrath of God. But what I want to point out here is, even in chapter 6, verses 12 and 13, we see the earth shaking, earthquake, and we see the islands and the mountains were moved out of their place, which parallels this right here, where the hills moved and were shaken. All right, then it goes on to say, then went up a smoke out of his nostrils, and fire out of his mouth devoured. And I think we can clearly say that smoke and fire, which coals were kindled by it, I think we can say that is volcanic activity, and also could be meteorites. There's several things that could be symbolic for. Of course, we saw how he bowed the heavens also and came down. Okay, that's where we stopped off. Now, I want to point out here, we can be assured that where I looked up the word bowed, and I got that it is to bend the heavens, open or part, okay? I believe what the Lord is leading me to understand here is that the heavens were opened and parted. just as a scroll is rolled back that we see also over in Revelations in chapter 6. Let's see, that'll be in chapter 6, verse 14, okay? And when he opens the heavens or parts the heavens or rolls it back as a scroll, as we see in Revelation 6, it says, and came down. Okay, this clearly backs up the idea that the heavens were opened or parted or rolled back as a scroll, because he came down, okay? And it says, and darkness was under his feet. Okay, that's the main thing we want to cover right now. But darkness is mentioned again down here, so I want to tie this all in together if I can. Okay, we saw the heavens opened, and it says, and darkness was under his feet. Now, the Lord has taken me to several scriptures concerning darkness. Okay, and we're going to read on for just a minute. And he rode upon a cherub and did fly. Yea, he did fly upon the wings of the wind. And here we see, we know that the wind, many times, we see that the movement and the action with the wind has to do with the presence of God. All right, and it says, he made darkness his secret place. His pavilion round about him were dark waters and thick clouds of the skies. Okay, we're going to focus on this where darkness comes into play. And I'm fixing to cut this video off so it won't take so long to load. But this darkness seems to me, what the Lord is showing me, goes back to where he taught me in earlier videos a few months ago about the darkness that's going to come upon the earth. And I know many disagree with the teaching of the 3 day of darkness, but what the Lord showed me is not at all connected with the old Catholic teaching of the 3 days of darkness, okay? This is something that I feel certain the Lord has shown me. If you look back in my old videos, you'll see in the 3 day events a video on darkness, and you'll also see a separate video, I believe, that's about the darkness. But the Lord had shown me a lot about how this 3 days of darkness will be. And just for a very brief recap, it's about how the Lord showed me the 3 days of darkness in Exodus. And he then took me to other events that were 3 day events within the Bible and showed me how they tied into the 3 days of darkness and how they affect the bride, the backslidden, and the lost. So here we're getting in to this darkness again, and the Lord, it says darkness was under his feet, and he made darkness a secret place. We're fixing to see how the Lord uses darkness and how it plays into things that will take place concerning the bride. But I'm going to cut this off right now, and we'll pick back up on a better understanding of this darkness when I come back. I love y'all. Bye-bye.